Hi, welcome to Made by Me with Grey Roots. I'm Laura, Programs Coordinator here at Grey Roots Museum and Archives. And this might be my favorite session for the whole summer. It's kind of a big deal. I love pickling. I love pickles. We are going to talk a little bit about the activity. You're going to get to see me run through a recipe that's a part of your package. So these were not, these will be emailed to you. So you'll have the digital copies and then so you can follow all the links in case you have any questions about like water bath canning, food safety, things like that. But there's also some really good recipes. So my absolute favorite one is the hot bath dills. It's actually called Aunt Rachel's Dill Pickles. I do not have an Aunt Rachel. But it was a recipe that my mom got many years ago from the Brantford Expositor newspaper. And then she also adapted to like with the processing and everything like that. So you have that wonderful recipe here. And then the other recipe, the recipe I'm going to walk you through are the refrigerated dill slices. And those are just really good fridge pickles that are kind of like a quick pickle from the Bernardin cookbook that I borrowed from the library. So it's one of a quick recipe. So the hot bath dills are what I do kind of to kick off the season with the first of the dills. And those cucumbers, they have to sit for a bit to pickle. So I won't open these until Thanksgiving. These ones though, once I've gotten enough of the Aunt Rachel's recipe, I always do some of these, especially if I'm running low on dill pickles, because these are good in a week and they're good for up to 2 months in the fridge. So those are the recipes that I have given you. And there was also a few others that I threw into, depending on what you have access to, like jalapenos. And if you also did our carrot craft, you will also have a few more recipes too with zucchini and things like that.
So today we're going to show you the refrigerator dill slices, and it's from Bernardin Complete Book of Home Preserving. So for this one, it's super easy. I grabbed these cucumbers from the garden yesterday. I did soak them overnight just to clean them up a bit. And when you're picking your cucumbers, there will be a blossom end. As you can see, that's all kind of dried up, shriveled. So what I do is I pull it off. Some recipes will tell you straight up just to cut it off. I actually really like it. I just don't like the stem end. I just find it just doesn't taste as good as the blossom end. But just follow your recipe, whatever it says. So for this one, you need 8 cups of sliced cucumbers into a non-reactive bowl. So for this one, I have actually a big measuring cup that's made out of glass. Non-reactive is very important, so stainless steel is good. I guess kind of plastic, but it is going to be hot brine poured in. And now that I have all of the cucumbers perfect, I am going to pour the hot brine in. So that was just simmering on the stove, and normally I do not have salt that's undissolved. It was just an issue I had trying this at work early in the morning when we're trying to not make the museum smell like pickles. But it's always important to make sure that granulated sugar and the salt is dissolved before you take the brine off the stove. Now I'm also covering it with wax paper. I've also used parchment paper. I would only suggest those, or maybe if there's like a lid or a plate you could sink down just to keep those cucumber slices submerged, because the whole point of this is like they're kind of cooking in that hot brine. So while they are starting to cool down, I'm going to get the jars ready. So there's some dill weed or seed, peppercorns, mustard seed, and this is what my pickling spice is. So pickling spice, you can either buy it from the store, like from Bulk Barn, or you can create your own. It kind of just depends on what your flavor is. Now with cucumbers, I did get some cucumbers from the store because I was like, oh, well, they won't be that bad. There were some really kind of like partially, like they were shriveled. They had some like not so great spots. So one of the big important things is just to pickle when the stuff is ready. So if you can harvest it from your garden or get it from somewhere else, and if it's yellow, cucumbers aren't really supposed to be yellow unless it is that variety. So you just want something that's a bit more green than yellow, but I'm kind of equal opportunity for sizes and shapes, but I do try to stay away from the yellow. So into a sterilized jar, I'm just adding the spices. So for this one, you want to add the spices. I divide with the 8 cups into 2 quart jars instead of 4 of the smaller jars, just because for space wise, it's a little bit easier at my house. And I am going to cut that garlic clove in half. And I really like doing that now just because it helps kind of spread the garlicky goodness around. It's cooled down enough. I just washed my hands. If you have something that is non-reactive, like plastic tongs or like a slotted spoon, you could use that instead of your hand to move the cucumber. So this one is not quite ready. So it's still bright green on one side, but dull green on the other. So it's just partially pickled. So I'll put that one back in and let it sit for a little bit more longer because it is still warm. But I have a non-reactive ladle, and then I have a non-reactive funnel to help get that brine into the jar. So that one just goes straight into the fridge, and then you just have to wait a week. You have to have the patience for a week just to wait until it's ready to enjoy.
But for this activity, we are going to quickly talk about sketching out your craft, your very dill pickly keychain, and we'll talk more. Okay, so again, I love dill pickles. So for this craft, it's, a very stylish dill pickle keychain, or it can be a necklace. It could be anything, especially if you love dill pickles or pickles in general. But I did not give you any template because at this point, everyone loves different kinds of pickles. In my example, I included, there's some garlic cloves, there's a piece of hot pepper. So it's kind of like, think about your absolute favorite kind of pickle and then draw a picture. So I always like to sketch it out just so I know what's going on. So to start right off the bat, I'm going to kind of just figure out the size of my shrink art just so I know what I'm working with. Because with this one, I do want to use as much of my shrink art as possible. So I'm just going to give myself my guidelines. And it's always nice to sketch things out just so that if you make a boo-boo, you can actually fix it before you potentially mark up your shrink art. So now that I have this, if I was really good, I'd work upside down, but I'm just going to work my regular way. So I am going to start with my jar lid, and I'm just going to sketch that in quick. And then I'm going to do my jar. So there are other kinds of jars that you could use. You could Google the different kinds of jars and look at some images online. So you could do like an old fashioned kind of flip top, kind of whatever you're thinking. Maybe this time I'm going to add a label this time. Just say, big dill. So from here, I think I can flip it now. So from here, I'm gonna think about, okay, well, obviously I like dill pickles. So, and I did like my kind of cheeky smiling cucumber / pickle in my jar. So I might do a few more. So all I'm gonna do is just quickly sketch out. And these are obviously, perfect cucumbers that, aren't misshapen at all, like the ones that grow in my garden. But I'm going to just throw some in here. And of course, it's a perfectly packed jar because they're all the right size. But you can add different, so I'm going to add a garlic clove. Maybe I'll add some peppercorns. And then I probably should add, maybe I'll make
I'll add some dill over here. It's like wearing a hat. Or it's like hair. And so I'll just sketch out my eyes. Maybe this one. There we go. And then maybe this one, it looks like this one's also smiling, but maybe it's got its tongue out. And because none of my cucumbers are perfectly smooth, except for a couple, I don't know what kind of variety they were this year, but they all have like little bumps. I'm gonna make sure I include those just to give the dill pickles a little bit more character, and I might put this one way up here with big eyebrows, and maybe this one also has a hand waving high. So I can just add a few more just to fill the jar. And then when I am absolutely happy, I'm just going to pop this over top, and then I'll start tracing it out. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate the shrink art today, but you're welcome to look at, there are 2 previous ones where we did shrink art. There was the butterfly mobile, and there was the photo frame rockin' photo stand as well. So either one of those, and I'll include links to those, you can check out to see. But the big thing is just keep an eye on it, and don't forget to punch it with a hole beforehand. So in your kit, you will have a hook, and then one of the loops that you can attach it to, like a zipper or anything like that. So with the size of your hole, you'll be able to just hook that with the hook and then attach it there. So again, that could go onto a necklace or the keychain, lunchbox. Maybe you have a special place you put your pickles and you want to put it there. Totally up to you. But that's the thing too with this craft, is we all like different pickles. So it could be sweet pickles, it could be little gherkins, it could, maybe it's not even cucumbers, it could be pickled jalapenos, garlic, asparagus, beans, carrots. There's so much. So if you don't necessarily like cucumber pickles, find something else that you like and draw it, because it actually is quite a lot of fun to draw silly pickling things.
So thank you so much for joining us for kind of a big dill. And again, if you have any questions, either about the pickling or the canning, there are some good resources in the recipe package, but if you have any specific questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. And if you have any questions with the craft, please do so, but also please show me what your craft turns out like. I am so curious as to what your pickle pull tag is going to look like. But thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great time crafting.